Okay, Max and Janelle, we are live.
Hey.
This is the last weekday of August, and that is a really big milestone for me personally because my goal this month was to go live on YouTube and Facebook every weekday for the whole month. And so we've been live for 10 seconds or 15 seconds now, so I have accomplished my goal, even if the rest of this is a total disaster. I am very
Let's
happy that I have done
go.
that.
You're the finale,
Eh,
baby. This is not going
Yeah,
to be a disaster.
Yeah.
It needs
might
So
be a lot of
spiral.
laughs.
So it was going to be Janelle and Trish Glad. Trish Glad is an escrow officer. And then Trish called me a few days ago and she's like, hey, did you realize that that's the last day of the month for me to get anything done? And I was like, ooh, that's probably not very smart to make that be when you have an escrow officer on your live stream. So I don't know what I was thinking for that. But Max has agreed to jump in for her. So Trish owes you one, Max.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sorry because it's not going to be nearly as much experience as Trish brings to the table, but I'm here.
Yeah,
Here.
that's all right. That's all right. I'm sure you'll do well. And we'll get Trish on later because I actually do really think it would be an interesting thing to get the perspective of an escrow officer on some of these things we're going to talk about today. So we'll have to loop back around and get that with her at a later point. But let me just explain really quickly sort of my I guess it's not really an association with Equity Title, but my arrangement with Equity Title. Equity Title sponsors a lot of the CE classes that I teach. So I teach together with Carrie Phillips at Rate Mortgage. Some of the classes I teach myself, some of them I teach together with her. But you guys sponsor by letting us use the classroom and also usually by providing some sort of food for the participants there, which I know that they very much appreciate. And it's been a very good, long-standing relationship. I like to provide that CE for free to those realtors as a way to sort of give back to the real estate community. And obviously, I wouldn't be able to do that without support from you guys. And so I just want to say thank you for that. I really appreciate all of the support for all of the years that I've been doing that. It's been very meaningful.
Of course, that's part of the relationships that we want to have in the
Yeah.
community. So happy to provide that.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
and Max, we haven't known each other for very long, so this is a huge risk for me to have you on my live stream, probably, right? But
Yeah, no. Yeah, a huge risk. Cody, a huge risk. I don't know if anybody told you, but no. Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
no, Max is pretty new to Equity Title, but he has lots of experience in the business and is bringing that experience to Equity Title. And we've already done one CE class where he came and supported, and you did a fantastic job. Thank you for that, Max. And so
Oh, thank you.
it's great to have you on today.
For sure.
Anything else you guys want to sort of mention about Equity Title and that kind of a relationship before we dive into some of the subject matter?
Yeah, I think I was with Equity. I started in 2013 and was there about 19 and then did a couple other things. So I'm back as of a couple months ago as a sales manager here for Equity. So I feel like I'm back home. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is we are one of 16 companies out of Orange Coast Title. So and we're just branded differently. So we have a large family and we're on weekly calls with them. And it's amazing because it's just an extension of our team and an extension of our management. So we've had some changes recently, super excited about what we have going. And Equity is just very consistent and just always supportive with the community here of realtors. So we're excited that we have some new faces. Just like you mentioned with Max, we have a couple more. So we have a pretty strong sales team and we have some amazing escrow officers. So we're just happy to be here and happy to be working with the realtors here in town.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Excellent.
I can tell you, I've worked with a lot of companies out there, and I've always been very, very happy with the quality of the work that we get from Equity Title. And you brought up something that we're going to talk about a little bit later here, which is like the fact that you guys are backed by, there's an underwriting process. You guys are backed by a really big company. can weather the storms and stuff, which is important because if somebody needs to make a title insurance claim later, there needs to be somebody there for the claim to go to. So
Yeah.
appreciate you mentioning that. Let's start today by just talking a little bit about the difference between title and escrow, because in Nevada, I've run into lots of agents who think that that's the same thing. They think that those are synonyms when that obviously is not the case. So why don't you guys just kind of tell us a little bit about those differences and why we do it the way we do it in Nevada?
Well, and I think that's probably our fault that we put it all together, right? Because that's just how we operate. And so there is a distinction, and we do have escrow officers, and then we have a title department. And those work hand in hand versus in other states, which if any of you have experienced someone coming into our market, maybe they're from the Midwest or from the East Coast, you will hear them say that they work with an attorney and that they go to the table and they have all of that. So in those, it's just escrow. Somebody's just handling that transaction for them. But on the other side, it's different. So here we have it all together. And that's going to be with any title company here in town that you run into. But we take pride in the fact that we have 4 different underwriters. And why is that valuable? Because if one isn't willing to write that, we have others that we can take that to. But we also have what we call the Orange Coast Way, or the Equity Title of Nevada Way. And what happens is if there's something that's even more challenging, we take it to the owners in Orange Coast Title. In fact, we just had a call today and that was reiterated. That is how we do things different. We don't want to say no. So how is it that we can manipulate that to where it fits the need for the underwriter to make that happen? Sometimes not everybody gets those resolutions or solutions, and we do. So by having all of those minds in the mix is very powerful, and we take great pride in that. So yeah, both sides.
So even though even though the company is like the same company, you do still internally kind of have a little bit of a wall of separation, right? Because there's a separate function of title versus escrow. And there has to be, even though they're allowed to be the same company, there has to be rules and laws about how much there can be interaction between those two, right? There has to be some kind of separation on those functions.
Not necessarily, no. So when you open an escrow, you're dealing with the escrow officer, right? That's your point of contact. That's the one handling that particular transaction and transferring ownership to the buyer, really, ultimately. So what happens is you open escrow and we immediately start a preliminary title report. Everybody's different on their property and what they come to the table with. So at that point, once it's opened, the escrow officer takes it to the title department in-house, says, we got a new one opened. Can you pull any recorded documents that are attached to that property? And let's take a look and see what we're up against and what things we have to clear, or what is it that we're talking to the seller about to get a little bit more information on what's happening. So They really do talk. I mean, they are all talking to each other daily.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we'll come back to the title function here in just a little bit. Before we jump there, I thought it'd be kind of cool if we could talk about a property profile. Sometimes when I'm talking with, I've even been speaking sometimes with really experienced agents, and I'll suggest to them before they go to their listing appointment that they have a title company that they work with to pull a property profile. And they look at me like they've never heard that term before. So could you guys tell us what is a property profile and what's the value of it for the agent?
Yeah, property profile brings everything that they need to know about that deal or that transaction to the table before they start getting involved. So they can make sure all parties are in. If they need a spouse to sign down the road, if they need to make sure that whatever might be hidden that they can't find is brought up to the table then. I think it's important to have that property profile going into a listing appointment because it helps build trust with your client, showing that you're going after it, making sure that you're pulling all the facts, all the figures, and getting everything to the table to make sure that they are able to make the best decision with their most valuable asset.
And is the idea that the property profile will also does it list some of the encumbrances like what we would see on a prelim, or is it a different function for that?
It can be the same. It looks different than the preliminary title report, but the property profile comes with the lien report. So then that will be its own page that shows exactly what liens are attached to the property. So it's a little bit two different types of documents versus on a prelim, it's one.
And so one thing that I don't know, I'm super curious to know from you guys is what is happening behind the scenes when I call up Trish and say, hey, could I get a property profile on this property?
Yeah, well, we have a customer service department, and we call Aaron or we text, email, and we say, here's the request. Cody is looking for a property profile at 123 Elm. Can you please get that to him? CC me. Like, we're always like, we want to be in the mix. So we make sure that you get exactly what you want, that we're all on the same page. So we do have someone internal, or we actually have a tool, which Max, maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, in the Equity app. So in the mobile app, you could actually pull that property profile yourself to kind of help give you that quick rundown that you're looking for. Now, if you see anything that kind of sticks out as a red flag to you, we could dive deeper. And then that's where we would go into Aaron and say, hey, Aaron, we need to look into everything. We need to find out if there's a child support lien against the home or anything like that. Because property profile will pull a lot, but it's not going to pull everything. So we try to give you as much access to things as possible as the agent, so that in that way you can go in and feel like the expert and feel comfortable with that listing appointment you're going into. But if you see a red flag, then definitely alert us, and then we could dig into that property a little bit further. And that's where our customer service team comes into play, and we kind of roll up the sleeves and get dirty.
Okay. Hey, for anybody watching live, or even if you're watching it on replay and it's already over, but you have a question, please put those questions into the comments so that we can get those answered. We are talking about things that I hope will be valuable to realtors so that they can learn about title and escrow, because it's something that I feel like even a lot of realtors don't know super well. But obviously this applies to everybody, buyers and sellers. This information, I find it to be interesting no matter what for anybody who's interested in owning real estate. And so you can put those questions there into the comments, and if it's after the fact, we'll loop back around and get those questions answered for you. So let's talk just for a minute about when it does get to the point of the transaction where now it's time to get a preliminary title report. In our purchase agreement, that's referred to as a PTR, preliminary title report. But the slang we use in the business is the prelim. And when I ask realtors, how many people, when you do a transaction, look at the prelim, the ones who raise their hand are lying. Nobody does. No, I know that some do. Obviously, some do, but not a lot of people really actually look at the prelim. But this is a really important document. So, Max, will you tell us a little bit about what that prelim is and what the agent would be looking for in there?
Yeah, the prelim's pulling the whole chain of title. So it's showing you everything that's gone on. For investors, it's super important because if you're looking to put a pool in the backyard and there's an easement on the property, you need to know about that before you buy into it, because if there is an easement, that's a big hit to your pocket if you're not able to put a pool in the backyard or whatever it may be. And those water easements can be taken care of down the road, but it's better to know about it ahead of time. Also, like I said earlier, if there's child support on it, if we need to go in and dig into that, a lot of the times what I've seen in the past is John Smith is a common name. So you pull a prelim and they'll be like, wait a minute, I don't have children. How do I have child support against me? So it's just us being back to the title department and doing a little bit more investigation to find out and contact lawyers and say, this is the wrong John Smith compared to this John Smith. Just making sure that your clients are being taken care of from start to finish. The prelim is very important because it's a good document that you could bring to the table to make sure that not only do you look like the expert, but to help with negotiations.
Yeah, cool. In a couple of my CE classes, we sort of go deep into a prelim and how an agent should discuss that with their client. And there's actually a lot of really good opportunities for an agent to be talking with a client about these things, because it builds confidence in the competence of the realtor. And that's a big thing that I talk about when I coach and mentor agents, is that they have to have confidence in your competence to do it. And one of the things that I explain there is that when you're doing a transaction that has a lender, that lender is going to be looking at that prelim really closely. And so it sort of takes a little bit of the heat off of the client themselves and off of us as realtors to do that, because the lender is doing that for us. But if you have a client buying a 10-acre parcel, the house is in one corner and he's paying cash, boy, you better be looking at that prelim, because like you just mentioned, Max, there could be a big easement going right through the middle of that property that impacts your ability to do what you want to do with it. And that does have a very material impact on value lots of times. So I loved
For
how you
sure.
brought that up, because it's exactly the thing I talk about in those CE classes.
Yeah. When we
And
were doing,
go
when we
ahead.
did a bit of a red flag in prelims in the past, that's a huge one for investors, because like I was saying earlier, if they can't put that pool in, or if they want to turn the front yard to grass and not have it that desert landscape, and that's their idea or their vision, that's going to help them boost the sell of that home. It puts a damper in it when they find out later on down the road that they can't do those things, and you're their agent supposedly supporting them, you know?
Yeah.
I want to add to that, because I
Yeah.
think in the prelim, when you do see those liens and judgments and things, those are conversations you as an agent need to have, because you have given them a net sheet, I hope. And with that, there might be some things like the Republic Services. If people don't pay their trash, right, for whatever reason, and that will affect that bottom line, because that needs to be paid, and that needs to be paid at escrow. So it's usually going to be taken out of those proceeds to make sure that we get that taken care of. So it is imperative to know what is on there to make a better projection on what they're going to actually walk away with. It may be slightly different. So the prelim is important for the agents to see. So what we do internally as the escrow officers is they make sure that they highlight certain things in the email to the agent to say, listen, there's 1, 2, 3. We're going to address these. I just need you to be aware of it. Because does everybody want to read the prelim? No. There's really certain pages in the prelim that are important, and you want to look for those items. There's specific pages that you can look at that really, once you get used to that, you can just automatically go, okay, this looks clear, that looks clean. Oh, we've got this one, right? Just to kind of give yourself a heads up. But we're trying to help you by giving you the list of things that we see.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that. That was a good explanation. And here's how I understand it. The prelim is basically the title company saying, we intend to issue you title insurance, and
Yep.
we are protecting you against everything except, and then there's a list of the exceptions, and that is where these things, these liens that we're mentioning are noticed. And so, yeah, that's where you got to be looking, is where there's a section of the prelim called exceptions. And you'll see things in there always, like property taxes, right? Like you're not getting a title insurance policy that says that the title company is going to pay your property taxes forevermore. So that'll always be in there, things like that. And then my understanding also, and this part I'm actually not quite sure on, you guys can tell me if I have this wrong, but what happens is the preliminary title report kind of notifies everybody of everything. And then there's a bunch of discussion about which things are going to get paid at closing and those kinds of things. And then there'll be a final title policy that has a new list of exceptions. So now you are protected under that policy except for those things. And that becomes the final of what the title insurance policy actually covers. Is that correct? Or is there anything in there that I kind of stated wrong?
Well, yeah, it won't state what was cleared because it's already cleared. So now the clean title report now goes to the buyer to say this is free and clear of any liens and anything. You are now protected. We have taken all precautions. That's what the title insurance is.
Okay,
Now
that
we
makes
take
sense.
we take it the next step and we actually run the prelim again right before it closes, because we want to make sure that nothing has been recorded against the property in between the escrow period, because that has happened in the past. So we run it again to make sure. And then now we know 100% that it's done. Should something come up, that homeowner, the new buyer, can come to us and say, hey, this showed up. We're going to say, hey, we didn't see it either. That's when the title insurance kicks in and pays off, or could pay off what comes to the table. So that's not a lot. Doesn't happen all the time, but
Yeah.
But when you don't pay the pool guy and then he realizes 3 years later that you're selling your house, then that's when you'll see things like
he may
that.
see
That's a
it.
big reason
Yeah.
why we run that preliminary title report a second time, just to make sure that John, the pool guy, doesn't come in to try to collect money later on. And if he is, then we get it taken care of. I always think of it as title as the detective to make sure everything is legal and safe for the new home buyer to take. Escrow is just that neutral third party to make sure that everything's getting handled correctly and fairly for both sides.
Yeah, and the other thing I explain in the CE classes, because I know a lot of, I see a lot of realtors who don't really understand this perfectly, is that if later somebody comes along and makes a valid claim against a home that is, it's not an exception on the title policy, then that buyer does not go back and go after the seller, sue the seller. That buyer just makes a claim on the title insurance policy because that's what the seller gave the buyer in order to protect the buyer from those claims. And so I've only heard of that happening one time in the whole 20 years I've been paying attention to this stuff. And so I know it is probably pretty rare, but it can happen. And I'm sure you guys have seen where it's happened occasionally here and there.
Yeah.
Occasional. I haven't had much.
Yeah.
In my last position, one thing we had seen a couple times is fraudulent sellers. I mean, you have people that go after lien fraud is on the rise like nobody's business. And so unfortunately, the sale would go through. They would find a way to get it all the way through escrow. Anyways, one lady, her house had been flipped. She bought the house and then was sitting in there for about a month or so, and then got notified by the seller saying, "Hey, I didn't sell my home."
Ooh.
And we had digged all the way into it. Absolutely right. He didn't sell the home. It was a fraudulent sale. Title insurance covers the whole thing, makes the lady's loan payment whole, gives her all of her money back, takes care of all of that so she can go find her new home, and then the old seller takes possession of the home again. So it is extremely important to have title insurance on your home, especially with just how convenient people are trying to get. I know in one position, the notary had noticed that it was an AI photo and they were doing a mobile notary and she asked it to raise its right hand and it couldn't raise its right hand. And so she shut it down right then and there. So it is crazy, but there is a big reason why title insurance is out there. And that's why title plays such a big detective, is just to make sure, like, hey, is the seller really the seller? Is this really what it is? And are these liens cleared up? Or is that cleared up? So then that way that new buyer could feel safe when they take that home. And I mean, it's their most valuable investment. So
I'm really glad you brought that up, Max, because I was always thinking of it in like the more traditional, some kind of an encumbrance got missed, but this whole thing with AI and all the scams that can come around because of it and protecting your actual title in the property. I mean, that's really, really important. And I'm glad you brought that up. Anything else about title insurance before we should move to the next subject? Okay, well, if the experts are saying no, then
I'm like, I think we just want to keep it simple, to be honest, so that everybody really kind of understands what the two do. And then if they have any more questions on specifics or a scenario, I think we find that sometimes even if the escrows aren't with us, we still have our clients calling us going, "Hey, this is what we saw," because we explain it so well that the agents come back to us to really explain a little deeper. So we just encourage everyone that if you have any questions, that just reach out to us because we can answer them and dig a little deeper if that's what you guys need.
Yeah, in fact, anybody who needs to reach out to Equity Title, I've put Max's contact information here up on the screen. Whether you are a realtor or a buyer or seller or anybody who has any sort of title and escrow questions, I'm sure that he can definitely get you those questions answered for you. So make sure to make a note of that information and reach out to him with those questions. And then also you can, like I mentioned before, you can put questions in the comments. We'll loop back around with you guys if you're watching this on replay and get those questions answered for you. Okay. I happen to know that I know of a few stories of agents who took the marketing people at a title company up on their offer to help them build their business. And I happen to know that you guys actually do have some really good tools. And I think sometimes people value it with what they're paying for it, which is very little or nothing. And so they probably are making a mistake there. But why don't you guys share with us some of the things that you've done, maybe even some stories you have of agents who have taken you up on those offers and the successes that you've had because of those things?
Yeah. I know that with me, agents, you guys are so busy doing so many things. You guys play the hat of all trades. So it's really just kind of help reinforming a lot of the things that they already may know, or helping to, dive in deeper on those things. I know one big one that I help a lot of agents with is something that a lot don't really touch on, but it's e-property watch in the MLS. It's one of my favorite tools. It's something you guys already pay for, but it's such a great value add past transaction for you guys, because like I was talking about with lien fraud and seller's fraud, it'll actually notify if I'm in your e-property watch, Cody, and somebody tries to put a lien against my home or sell my home out from underneath me. It'll notify me within 24 hours saying, hey, is this you? Were you aware about this lien? If not, contact this number, and it'll give me the county assessor and be able to start proactively going after that. And then it does a step above and beyond for you guys as agents. It continuously drips on them with an equity review. It shows me comparables in the market. It shows me trends in the market, shows me where I'm at as a snapshot in my mortgage, shows me my equity in my home, as well as if I have a first or second loan on the home and everything like that. So it's really great for you guys for your sphere of influence, because it continuously drips on them month in and month out with your logo, your information, and just giving them market expertise on what's going on and keeping in touch with them past transaction. So I love that tool because, like I said, it helps them protect their most valuable asset. And then also too, I'm big in sales. I've been in sales for majority of my life, and one of my biggest things is building trust or rapport with your client. And when it comes to building trust, from what I've learned in my career, is it's not, talking about the fishing trips that you did. It's more about showing them, hey, these are the things on the prelim. These are the easements you may need to look after. Or, hey, here's a net sheet and here's an accurate number of what you think you could bring home. Or, hey, here's your property profile. Just knowing your facts and figures before you go talk to the client. So then that way like you said, it builds confidence in, what was it that you were saying,
Your
Cody?
competence.
In your competence. Exactly
Yeah.
that. And that builds that trust with that client. They're like, man, I got to move with this guy because he knows what he's talking about. He's not only saying it, but he's showing me facts and figures behind what is important. So a lot of the clients that I've helped has been in that aspect. And then, direct mailers and things like that, and helping understand how to do farms. We definitely dive into that as well. But most importantly, just helping you build trust in yourself to build that confidence in what you're telling your client.
And then we offer tools within our toolbox, right? We always have the toolbox. And those are things that we invest in, right? Those are programs and systems that we pay for to be that resource for you, to where you don't have to pay for those resources. So yes, we have all of the expertise. We talk real estate. I think that's our biggest thing. Like, we just know the market. We know what it is. We know what does the avatar look like? What does that buyer look like? What does the seller look like? How do we help you talk that talk, right? So we're not just title and escrow. We're in real estate too. We're just not realtors. So we have those apps. We have all those systems in place for everybody. It's titleadvantage.com. Go register. You get access to property profiles. You get access to farming. We have it so dialed in that you can actually, it's all GPS, right? You dial it in. If you're standing in front of a house and you need to know who the owner is, you take a picture, put it in, it's right there. That's valuable information so that you can be on the spot getting the information that you need. So we try to make sure you have everything at your fingertips anytime. It can be midnight, whatever that works for you, because we're all working crazy hours. Having that available to you. So get with us on the titleadvantage.com. Sign up for that. You're going to see a plethora of tools in there. We can help you through that process as well and give you a guided tour, which is what we really love doing. We get excited about it because we see how we can help you find the client. whether it's a buyer or seller. One of the things I do very specific, because I'm very targeted. I like target marketing versus a blanket out, just here you go. So people will come and say, I want a walking farm. Great. But here's the deal. You have some that are owner occupied and some that are not. So if you're trying to flip the script every time you talk, it gets too much. So I simplify that and I'll say, what's the area? I just pull the non-owner. And then I'll pull the farm and then I mark on the farm that these are all the buyers because they're renting. So keep the script, stay with the script of that walking farm, go find buyers. Then I give you the farm in the same area that's all for the sellers. Go out there, start pitching, hone in on your skill. And that's the only way you can do it versus toggling back and forth. You'll feel more productive. It won't feel so overwhelming and you're going to get results. So get with us when it comes to that because we, again, know your avatar and we know exactly how to help you craft that whole marketing plan.
Yeah, you know, it's
For sure.
interesting because I've now coached and mentored hundreds of agents, and I know the patterns of the things that I hear, the things that agents bring up with me, right? And so all the time I'll hear people say, I just don't know how to find the business. I'll ask them, well, what are you doing to find the business? I'll ask them about their sphere of influence, and they always say, I don't have a sphere of influence. I'm new or whatever, right? And they don't realize that they do have a sphere of influence, but I let them get through all those things that they tell me of all the reasons they can't. And then I always say, and have you talked with a title rep about the tools that they have to make you successful? And almost never do they say that they've done that. And so all their excuses are done because that's one they haven't thought of.
Yeah.
And there was one agent that I recommended that she do that. And then I started to notice that she was getting some listings in a particular neighborhood. And I called her and said, how are you doing that? And she explained to me that she was doing that because of a list that they had put together. They'd given her a script, coached her up on what to say, how to do it. She went out and did it. And what do you know? It turned into some business. She started listing properties. She became known as like the expert. I mean, she could teach a master class on farming after all of that stuff. And she had no idea how to do that. That was taught to her by the title company. So there's real value out there, agents. Like you really can.
For sure.
Well, we're salespeople. We are salespeople through and through. And as you guys, as agents, so are you. But we're not always trained in sales, right? So that's where our expertise comes in. Is it's not just the farms and the information that we're giving you. We guide you and coach you on how to use it. So, because that's what we do on a daily basis. So we're just transferring over our knowledge and strategies over to you is what we're doing.
Yeah,
for sure.
I just mentioned that in the upper corner of this, over Janelle somewhere, there is a QR code. That's it right there. That you can go directly to my calendar using that code and set up a time to meet with me. Anybody who would like to meet with me, I'm happy to have a discussion with you for whatever reason. I teach all that CE those classes because I really do want to give back to the realtor community. And you don't have to hire me as a coach. I'm willing to just help you as a realtor to be more successful. And so please do scan that code and make an appointment with me. Happy to meet with you anytime. Okay, guys, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. I feel like, I've learned some things. I feel like as much as I knew about title and escrow, I learned a few details of that I really appreciate. I just want to say again, thank you for all the support you give on those CE classes and otherwise. And, I will say that I get lots of people asking to sponsor those classes because we've built a really good reputation. Realtors really love them. We actually have fun in the CE classes, which is like unheard of in CE in Nevada. But the reason that I have always worked so closely with Equity is not just because of, you guys are nice and give us those benefits to do. It's because the clients get fantastic service. At the end of the day, I don't care about all that other stuff. I want the experience of the client to be as good as it can be. And so I don't want that to get lost in all of this, that's really the reason that I'm having you guys on is because I know that you do that for the clients. And I've seen it time and time and time again. And I will get Trish on a live stream at some point because I love Trish. She is such a dream to work with. I just really, really appreciate her. And so thanks for stepping in, Max,
Yeah.
on that. But we'll
No
get her
worries.
at
Thank
some
you.
point.
No, for sure. She would love to be on. I know she definitely was like, oh, no, I can't do it because I got all these closings I got to get done before the end of the month. And I was like, no worries. We got you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it, everybody. Oh, wait, we do have, let's see if we have a comment here. Oh, Jim says thanks again and happy Labor Day weekend. Thanks, Jim, for tuning in. Jim has been one of my viewers throughout the month, and I just really appreciate people taking the time to watch what I'm putting out there. I try to make it be relevant for everybody, so appreciate you being on there. And everybody have a great weekend. And at some point, I'm going to be back live on here. I just don't know exactly yet when that's going to be. I'm going to take a little bit of a breather after this month.
Bet.
We're glad we could be a part of it. Thanks for having us.
Seriously.
All right.
Thank you, Cody.
Bye, everyone.